Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to episode number 14 of the Soul Rollers podcast. My name is Jackson Gage, and I'm here with my co-host William Dennis, and we're here to talk about jiu-jitsu and life and self-mastery. And one of the first things I wanted to bring up today is the fact that last week we started sharing our podcast a little more than we were. We weren't really telling anyone about it. We're kind of just doing this for fun. Um, once a week, getting on here and talking about jujitsu because it's what we already do without recording it. So, and we figured we can give some value to somebody who's on the same path as us. So we just started recording for fun, and it's a fun thing we do. And then we talked about sharing it. And then last week, I think a friend of an acquaintance of both of ours, a good friend of mine, a guy we used to work with at Fresno PD. I won't say his last name, but his name's Jimmy. And he hit me up, and he had been seeing my posts about jujitsu, and he was saying that he started training up in San Francisco and he was loving it. And I was like, well, shit, man, go listen to I figured that was a good time to share it. Go listen to the podcast. And so a little while later, he hits me up and he's like, dude, I'm freaking totally relating with what you're saying. I love it. I didn't realize jujitsu had this type of effect on people who suffer with PTSD. And, just his energy and his vibe got me all pumped. And I told William about it. He got all pumped. And then the next day, William was like, why don't we share it with 3 people each? And so we just both hit up 3 people and got really good feedback from that. And that's been about a week. And I've just been watching, we've been getting continuous listens every day and a lot of good feedback. So yeah, it's going well. And before we get in, I know William has a couple concepts he wants to talk about from last night, but I just wanted to, first of all, thank anybody who's supporting us from this early on, who's listening to the podcast. And, the more time people download this, the more that these distributors will, put it in front of people's eyes. So we appreciate that. We appreciate any follows on Spotify. We appreciate ratings and reviews on iTunes. We need to start getting some of those because that gets this in front of people's eyes or into people's ears. And then just a quick couple of shout outs I wanted to give to people who showed us some love. First off, Carl over in Arizona. He was one of the first 3 people I told about it. And he's an ex-training partner of mine. He just moved to Arizona a few months ago. And he shared it right away on his story, which got me pumped up, which made me share it on my story. And then I started getting some questions about it on my story. Shared it with William. And so Carl, that's much appreciated. And who else was on there? Oh, JP, another guy I trained with. He went in depth. Him and his girlfriend. I've trained with both of them. Her name's Vanessa. I thought it was Vanessa for so long. Sorry, Vanessa, but it's Vanessa. And they were digging it, man. They were digging into it. And John Paul left a really nice post about it on Instagram, which we were able to share. So thank you, John Paul, and thank you, Vanessa, for you guys listening. And one more is a good friend of both of ours who put a post up on Facebook, and he said he actually broke his toes recently in jiu-jitsu, and he just started, and his name is Juan, and he's also an ex-police officer we used to work with. I won't say his last name, but he had some people telling him he's too old to do jiu-jitsu, and then he broke his toes, and he started kind of believing it, and he listened to our podcast, and he said it got him pumped up to get back in, and he made again a really nice post. So thank you, Juan, and thank you anybody else who's shown us some love. And then also your boy D, your training partner D, if you want to he's been showing super love for it. So I don't know D as well as you, but
Yeah, D's just been great, man. He's a blue belt, and we went and competed together. When I went to my competition, he competed before I did, and he makes his house open to us, his garage at like 5:30 in the morning. We
oh,
go there
that's the guy.
and just he's a phenomenal human being. Him and his family, his son trains with Lincoln, my stepson, and just awesome family, awesome human being. So definitely he's been super encouraging and just saying, hey, you're gonna do great at this tournament, and just he's been great throughout my experience of, learning jujitsu with him. Huge influence on me. And so as soon as I shared it with him, he was pumped, and he's like, "You gotta share this." He was just such an encouraging influence and energy. So I really appreciate him, and all the responses I've gotten. People come up to me, "Hey, it's really good, man." And one thing that I believe is if you spot it, you got it. So anything that they're seeing from this podcast that they enjoy or think is valuable, it's because it's also alive inside them. And like, a lot of these people that have been sharing that they really enjoy our podcast have also been taking action to, take steps towards something that they've been passionate about, but maybe have been holding back on. And so I just want to encourage people to keep, if they see anything that we're sharing and that they think we're doing good at, it's alive inside them too, and they have the same potential. And it's just about authentically sharing. It's not that we're, any better or worse off than anyone. It's just we're open and sharing and just letting it go out there. And because that's the value, is it's relatable, because we're human beings. We all are, and we have things we can relate on if we're open and vulnerable.
Yep.
So that's been the exciting thing, is just seeing people not only share in something that you and I are passionate about and see that we are really giving our best in it and acknowledging that, but also for them to be able to be like, wait a minute, I could be doing something too. Like, what am I doing here? Let's go. And so that's exciting for me.
Yeah, I've been seeing the same kind of reaction from people,
Yeah.
even if they say it or not. I've noticed some people who are listening who all of a sudden hit me up like, "Hey, I'm going to go after this thing that I haven't been, that I've been thinking about going after." And I just feel like when you shine, when you step out of your comfort and you share something passionate with the world that you care about, it gives other people the permission to do the same thing, man. And so that's on top of everything with this podcast, how much I enjoy doing it with you, how much I enjoy doing it with you, William, how much I enjoy doing it with you, and how much I enjoy jujitsu. It's also, it's a powerful tool for anybody listening, man. Just going after what you're passionate about and sharing that with the world, because the people around you will be inspired. And that's when you're doing the true work that you should be doing on this earth, So,
Yeah.
And then real quick, I just want to read Juan's post real quick because I thought it was good, man. Um, this is one of the guys who, thank you, Juan, for this, man. He says, "This is some amazing content. I just recently heard a negative comment that I'm too old to practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I sustained a minor setback by having multiple fractures on my right foot coupled with a shattered toe. After listening to this Soul Rollers podcast by two amazing former cops and partners, I cannot wait to get back on the mat. Thank you, William Dennis and Jackson Gage." So that was a nice message we got this week, man, and we appreciate that, Juan. So hope you got back into training. Hit us up, let us know how it's going, and yeah. So anyhow, I think we got those nice shout outs and thanks
Yeah.
out of
And
the way here.
my coach also hit me up and told me he really enjoys it, and he took a listen as well. So that means a lot. I want to shout him out, and he's always just such an encouraging force. And just like you said, when you're passionate about something, you build a life around it, and then it impacts other people. That's exactly what he's done with being a black belt. He's made that possible for us to do what we're doing right now because of people being passionate and sharing jujitsu with us.
Right on, man. You can't give him out a shout out without saying his name.
Oh, Professor Victor Cervantes, from
Oh,
Rivalry Jiu Jitsu.
oh, right on. There we go.
Best coach in the world.
Hey, now. I like Victor. um, let's let's get into what you wanted to talk about from last night. And since you
Yeah.
shouted out Victor, I got to shout out Mike Kusi, man, just because he's teaching me jujitsu and shit, and I love it. And he's really good at it, man. Really fucking good at it, and he loves it. So gotta give credit where credit is due, and make sure I don't forget about my coach, man.
Heck
So
yeah.
anyhow, so tell me about last night, man. You trained last night?
Yeah. So there's two concepts, and we can go with both. We can go which whenever kind of rings truest for you right now, or however you want to do it. But for me, remember that post I sent you by John Danaher? It was talking about 90% of the work is done in preparation before you even step on the mat in your tournament. And it's about like, really investing in the preparation. And, that's where all the work is done. It was a post, it was a picture of George St. Pierre, and I sent you the caption
Oh
was
yeah.
underneath that. And what was crazy about that is like I had a flashback to when we were getting ready for my tournament. Me and the other guy that was next to me, Corrales, awesome dude, really good. Me and him are possibly, I think he's going to get promoted to blue belt. So we're super excited about that. Just found out. So, and coach asked me about my belt size or whatever today. So I'm like, it's real. Like, it's real. I'm excited. But, um, he said, he's like, look, don't go out there and try to win. Like, you've done the work, you've prepared for this, go out there and just give your best performance. It's a performance that you can be proud of. You put in the work, go out there and give your best, and I'm like, dang. So it came from a very wise place and that was proven by, another coach, John Danaher, who was pretty much essentially saying the same thing. So I just thought that was kind of a cool concept, a mindset that might be valuable for other people who are thinking about competing. Because Juan's son competed. He sent us a video about his son competing, and so that was kind of cool that it might help us when we're working on our mindset, which is where we're getting the most value from jiu-jitsu aside from just learning the art. And then the other thing is like, and it kind of goes to that last episode about plateauing. I'm trying to, after that tournament, my attacks worked. It wasn't that they didn't work. I just saw that I was very like tunnel visioned, in that tournament, and that might be valuable for someone that's going to go to one. Is there's all these other ideas that coach was throwing at me, or some of the other guys that were around saying, oh, pendulum sweep. And I'm like, my mind was like so focused in on getting the arm bar or getting the triangle. I couldn't think of sweeps or other things. Like I had to just zero in on one thing. And that's tunnel vision. I know what that is from being a cop,
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm trying to do is go, okay, I'm going to take that and learn from it. I want to grow. Even if I win, you can still grow from that. There's things to improve on. So for me, I'm like, okay, I want to start incorporating more sweeps in my close guard. And so I've been working on, scissor sweeps and flower sweeps. Well, when I say working on them, I've been failing at them. So I'm like getting kind of frustrated. And as soon as I like my brain, I don't know what this is yet, like psychologically, and someone will probably know, but as soon as I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this now, and it's different from what I've been doing, my brain goes, okay, purge everything. I know nothing. It's like almost like I forgot how to do jiu-jitsu now. I'm like so nervous. I'm like trying something new. It's my brain's like, yeah, well, good luck. You don't know anything. And I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about? Like, that's how the internal conversation's going. So I kind of feel like and I was telling my wife this last night. She was like, what are you talking about? You're fine. Just enjoy it. And I'm like frustrated. I didn't get anything I wanted to do. I was trying to work on my setups. I can't get set up because what I'm trying to get myself to do is not go for the attack right away. Try a sweep first. Get him into like cover my guard, do whatever I need to do. I've been working on De La Hiva, which is going really good, and I love it. But I get to close guard is my goal. When I get to close guard, I don't go straight for an attack. I go for sweeps first. So I'm trying to discipline myself. Like, yeah, we know you can do the attacks, but go for the sweeps first to try to add that another layer to my game, so to speak. But as I'm doing that, my brain's like, oh my gosh, if you change anything, I'm going to forget everything. Now you know nothing. And I'm like I'm almost like losing track of how to grip. And I'm like, oh, quit it. Like it's almost like my brain is being super dramatic.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've experienced that or if that makes sense at all, but that's kind of the other concept. So you can riff on either one of those
Well, that right there, what you were saying, I think that's just the depth of jiu-jitsu, man. You've spent so much time and so many repetitions with those attacks from close guard that they're becoming second nature to you. And then your body forgets everything else is not second nature. Like everything else, you're gonna have to spend that much time doing as well for it to become muscle memory. So go in and drill those sweeps 500 times, and it won't fucking be confusing. I've learned that I've learned just from drilling. We've been drilling once a week. Me and this guy named Steve, and then a couple other guys came last night. And that drilling, we talked about it during that plateau episode, but drilling is a fucking, they say drillers are killers or whatever. And dude, spending an hour just having, you're going 100, but you're going like 70 to 100%, but just drilling one fucking thing, over and over and over. And then, by the end of the night, it becomes second nature, maybe not by the end of the night, but you're a lot fucking better at it. Then when you go to your live rolls, the moves come much easier, than just starting, because man, if you're not doing a lot of sweeps from that position, It's just going to be like you're a brand, even though you're about to get your blue belt, that sweep that you haven't been doing, you're a brand new white belt at it, you know?
Yeah.
And the fucking, and that maze continues. You'll be, until you do something over and over, you're going to be fucking not that good at it, you
Yeah.
know? So it's just going to take, I say drill it, drill those sweeps. And instead of trying to do them in live rolls, like drill them a bunch of times, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't expect myself to get them. So one thing that popped into my head when you're sharing that is like don't forget just just because you're at like day one white belt at this one sweep doesn't mean you aren't like experiencing those other things, and your experience in those other things don't go away just because you're working on this new sweep. You still have that. For some reason I think our brain can easily go, oh well, this is new, so you have no experience, you know nothing. It's
I
like,
suck.
come here, brain,
Yeah.
and I think that's just a protective, like instinctual thing in our brain that wants us to be safe. And it's like, okay, brain, chill out for 1 second. I'm just trying to add to this. Like, calm down. We still know how to do these things because my close guard still works. It wasn't like I was doing it in my rules. It was just, it's awkward to try to set up sweeps now instead of the attacks. And I'm like, so I'm not feeling as fluid, and that's okay. Like, hey, I'm not there yet. It's kind of like that post I sent you from Tom Billy, that one about self-doubt. And it's like, hey, humans have the capacity to learn and grow, like just really different mindsets, like being okay with the struggle, being okay with the discomfort of it. And that's why I'm sharing it, is because I know if I feel this way, that there's got to be someone else that feels that way when they're trying to add new things to their game or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
just want that to be out there so that they know that this is part of the journey, not an exception to it. Like, oh, don't give up, or oh man, all those
Yeah.
kind of. I just want to be, very vulnerable so that they go, ah, crap, me too. All right, cool. Not in
Well,
this.
the nice part about it, what makes me like fall in love with jujitsu even more is this stuff comes about is, so you spend the time and you get good at something. You get not, and I wouldn't say good, you get blue belt level good, which is a good
Yeah,
white belt, you know,
yeah,
better than a white belt. And you get good at it, whatever, close guard. And then you say to yourself, like, okay, now I know what it takes to get good at a move. You know, I'm not struggling with the idea of fuck, I am I ever going to get good? You know,
yeah,
I know that if I put in the reps and I put in the time and I do it, I'm going to be able to solidify this a bit. So then you start thinking to yourself, okay, I can do this with every piece of jujitsu. I just got to be able to do what you're going through right now, which is nothing fucking work at all. You don't even know where to grab and shit, you know, and then you got to do that hundreds of times. But in the back of your mind, you know, well, if I keep doing this, pretty soon I'm just going to have my half guard, and then I'm going to have my close guard fucking attacks on point. And then those will be in my mind. And then what else can I fuck up at for a while to get good at? And pretty
yeah,
soon you just build this fucking, and then by the time you're, these higher belts, like look at these black belts, they've done that. So they didn't just get good one day.
yeah,
They struggled in each position to get good at it. And now those motherfuckers are good from every goddamn, from every position.
yeah,
But we all suck at fucking something. Like I keep getting, I think I told you on a Marco Polo, what's been happening to me in half guard a lot of the time is the guy will stand up on his outside leg, and it allows for me to close my guard, to get into the close guard.
yep,
And, so I go from half guard. If I'm not going to hit a sweep, I'll get back into close guard, which keeps happening right now because I've become aware of that opening. So now I'm getting in close guard and I'm like, fuck, my close guard game, although it's hard to get out of my goddamn close guard, I haven't put much time into it. So I'm there and I'm like, fuck, I feel like a white belt at close guard, so
yeah,
for the most part. So now I'm starting to I'm adding that's what I'm going to start focusing on, my close guard, because my game is ending up in close guard. And
yeah,
then in a few months, I feel like I'll be, at
yeah.
least
And
capable from that position.
I think you can apply that concept, that we're bringing up into every area of life, right? With a podcast, like if you listen to the first episode to this one, there's differences, and we're learning like, oh man, we're doing this wrong. Oh man, we need to schedule it this way to support both of our schedules. Oh, there's holes in our podcasting game. Just
Yes.
because we got 14 episodes up doesn't mean anything. We're still learning,
Yeah.
as we should always be. Same thing with coaching, same thing with everything we're trying to accomplish in life. Like I got to find where I'm messing up in order to learn how to, organize myself the way I need to be able to get efficient, and I think that's okay. Like the thing that popped in my head is like, how often do we enjoy resetting and starting over again? It's like you make like 4 steps forward and then you go back to the starting line again. You're like, oh, no, I don't want to start again. I want to stay where I'm at. It's almost like a board game or something where you have to like take two, you hit a certain piece and you have to take, 3 steps back or whatever. And you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
But what if that wasn't a negative thing? Like a question that popped in is like, how much energy do you put into positive uh, experiences as opposed to negative experiences? So like, which one do you make a bigger deal? So the fact that we're having to reset and build a new category or a new, skill set that we haven't started on yet, do we make that mean something negative, or do we make it like, hey, I get to start again? Like, really, if you think about it, like, okay, close guard. Possibilities are endless right now because you don't know where you're going. You don't know which one you're going to work on, what you're going to start with, you know.
Mm.
But that also means everything's open to you. You can do anything you want with your closed guard. So same thing with life. Like we don't really know what we're doing, all the way with podcasting and how to touch the audience, with the most value and all these big visions you have in your head when you want to do something great. But you start with small steps. And right now we have all the steps open to us. So it's a blessing if we want to see it that way. That's
Yeah,
kind of what I
exactly.
take from it.
Yeah. And it's small steps, followed by barriers. And that's what keeps people out most of the time. Just like you're talking about with fucking shit not working when you're trying your sweeps, these small, whatever you're doing, whatever we're doing in life, and I was talking to Carl, the guy, Carl, that was giving my training partner that was giving us the props. He was working on a website because he's doing like a blog on, like, he's really passionate about like all these different craft beers and stuff. So he's writing ad copy for breweries and he's doing a blog on beer. And actually that's cwphelps.com if you like beer and you want to check out his vlog. But I was talking to him about it earlier. He's having a problem with his website. And I was telling him, like, dude, just don't stop, because there's, everything is small steps and then a puzzle. And then you have to figure out the puzzle and then you repeat that cycle. Small steps, puzzle, small steps, barrier. And that keeps most people out of whatever it is they're doing, because the small steps, hitting continuous barriers, most people are like, well, let me try a different direction because there's too many barriers on this path. But the trickery of it is that every path you take, there's going to be barriers. And if you keep changing paths, you're never going to get anywhere in life and jujitsu and whatever the fuck it is. You got to stick with it. And that's something I've learned through jujitsu. You got to stick with it. You got to take the, you have to put yourself in a position to take losses and whatever it is that you're doing,
Well, failing is a part of success, right? If there's no opportunity or option for failure, neither is there for success.
Yeah.
So if that's not an option, neither is success. You can't have either one.
Yeah. And that's the, just to finish that last thought, I was thinking about this while I went and shot some archery right now. It was beautiful out there. I was out there by myself. There's clouds, the breeze was blowing, San Diego weather, smoked a little herb, and I'm sitting there meditating and shooting arrows. And I was thinking like how jujitsu is, you got to put yourself in a position in life. You have to put yourself in a position to be able to take losses, and to be able to be okay with taking losses. In our society, it's very frowned upon to lose, especially in America. Like, we're egotistical winners, capitalistic fucking mindset where, if you fail, you're a loser. And what jujitsu does is it teaches you that it's okay to lose every single day. You're still going to get to your fucking goals. And even more importantly, it teaches you that you have to lose a lot to get to your goals. And that mirrors over into every single thing in your life. You have to lose. And so not only does jiu-jitsu show me that through being there, but if somebody wanted to succeed in other areas of their life, going into a jiu-jitsu class will condition you to succeed everywhere else, because you're losing every night and you become okay with loss. You become okay with failure. And then you even invite it. You're inviting failure. Like, I can't wait to go tonight and fail at my closed guard, because I know that's going to end up in me being good at the motherfucker eventually. So I'm inviting it, and that's the difference between the mindset that we're taught and the mindset that we need to learn to succeed at things in life. And jiu-jitsu will teach you that, man, for sure.
Yeah, I believe it. And I think not only that, it shows you how you can be supported in the failures. Like, I guarantee you, like these sweeps, if I just reach out to the guys I roll with a lot, and I'm like, hey man, I'm really struggling with these sweeps. They're gonna be there to encourage, just like they were with the podcast. Like, oh man, keep it up. You guys are doing great. Yeah, nothing but encouragement. That's the support system that's built into jiu-jitsu. And we just need to learn how to translate that into other areas of our life. Because when you're struggling with something, what do? We reach out to each other. We encourage each other. We say, hey man, come on, you can do this. Let's go. That needs to be the system that you have put in your life to be able to take those small actions, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, we talk about it, like it's worth it, like, but it still sucks. Like there's some sucky parts to it. But as long as it's worth it, then it's worthy of that commitment to the suck. So, make the commitment. There is a sucky part of the journey, as all journeys have. But, I think I sent you another thing talking about all these posts and all this stuff. But Jordan Peterson says, like, even if you don't know what to aim at, like I don't even know where to start with close guard, then just freaking try something. Even if you're like, that was a terrible idea, at least that will narrow in where to be aiming at. Like, same thing with archery. If like, at least you have a target that you're aiming for. If you don't know where you're aiming, it's like, well, just shoot, because anything, you might hit the guy next to you, but it's like, oops, okay, I'm gonna not do that again. Like I'm gonna aim over here, and you're narrowing in, where you're trying to aim. And as long as, even if you're failing, you're still narrowing in if you're taking the action, if you're willing to step into the risk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Oh
like
yeah.
you said, you got to be willing to lose. You got to be willing to fail, not because it's going to mean something about you as your value as a person. That will never change. You're 100% valuable. It should never change if you lose. Like, hey, still a great person. Because even when you win, like, it's not like anything changed when I walk into the gym or the academy. It's like, oh, well, you won at that turn. Dude, Monday's Monday. That's
Yeah.
over. You did that on Saturday. That great. Well on you, but that's over. It's time to evolve. It's time to move forward. It's time to grow. I got a
Mhm.
huge endeavor ahead of me in this blue belt. That means a lot to me. Now I'm like, I've been working out hard right now just because I know blue belt's coming. I'm like, I got to work twice as hard now because I got to be deserving of this. I got to really push myself to like live into this, what this means for me. Coach may see it totally different. He may see, and that's the trick. We don't always have the best perspective on judging our value or our competency in something. I think I brought that up before. So having people share their takeaways from this podcast has meant a lot to me, and I know to you as well, because it's like, wow, wait a minute, man, they have a different perspective than we do about what we're sharing. And it feels good to hear that it's making an impact. And even the things that you're saying, some people were giving us advice on like, hey, you need to correct this, or hey, you could work on that. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
that could be a blind spot for us. And it's, man, if you're out there sharing and you're trying to be supportive, you're making a difference in someone's life. So keep it up.
Yep. And something you said too. I don't know if we talked about this. I forget what we talk about on. That's the other thing. A couple people have brought shit up to me about other episodes, and I'm like, God damn, I do not remember that shit whatsoever. But as far as the blue belt, one thing I learned about that, I think we've talked about it. You can stop me if I said it on here, but at first, when you're until the point till after I got my blue belt, I was thinking that blue belt is some type of christening, like you've done well, here's your blue belt. But what I've interpreted it as now is you've done well as a white belt. This is your new challenge. You're up to par with this new challenge. It's not like I'm a blue belt, I'm this level now. It's like I've toughed it out through white belt. Now here's your blue belt. Now this is your challenge. Become this. And then it pushes you to level up your game even more, because of
Yeah.
the system where there's so many different people who are better than you and people who you should be better than. And, it keeps you, it keeps you in integrity. You can't walk around with that and not work your ass off to try to live into it, so it's a blue belt is a challenge and not a christening, if that makes sense. I looked at it more like I think most people do at first, like it's a trophy, like you've got this blue belt now, and I think that's through all the belts. So
Yeah.
which makes it
Yeah.
even a cooler fucking process.
I think what came to mind when you're sharing that is it's less about like the skill level and the efficiency of the skill level, and more about like the revelatory process of jujitsu. It's like it's slowly revealing us to ourselves more and more every day. So for me, being at blue belt or wherever I'm at, or coaches at black belt, he's just simply been in there long enough to reveal certain aspects of him for a certain amount of time that's exposed him to the core excellence that he has and everyone has in them. And he's the first one so humbly to say that, hey, you're a better white belt than I was. And I'm like, for one, I still can't picture him as a white belt. I just don't know what that looks like for him. But two, it's like, how is that possible? But he's the one that's lived it. Who am I to say otherwise? And one thing that's amazing about him is I'll chat about him all day. And all these compliments, but he deserves it. He's like, not only do I want you to be a better black belt than me in jiu-jitsu, but I want you to be a wonderful black belt in life. Like, I want you to take from this and be a better person outside of here. And that is like, sign me up. Why we do what we do. And we're trying to share that with this podcast is, how can we take what we're learning and apply it to our life and be better? Because I'm struggling in every aspect of my life and days. We all have those dark days or those bad days. And it's like, man, am I a total screw up in this? Just like I am at sweeps, right? There's other areas I've had success in, and that doesn't disappear because I'm having a hard time in my marriage or my parenting or my, career or whatever it is that we're struggling with. And don't let those struggles begin to define who we are at our core, which is, hey, we got to live into, this process that is slowly revealing the value that was always there, but we just didn't use the right pathway to reveal it. Like jujitsu is a pathway, PTSD was a pathway, right? And I was writing on that today, like the warrior's path, kind of like we were built for this. You know what I mean? I believe that. And the reason that's true, and I know it's true, is because this is the pathway we've been on, and it's here. So that's the reality. So I really believe that it's like, man, let life reveal your true essence. Let this life and let jujitsu and these different paths reveal to you who's sitting there just sitting there doubting everything about you, like I am, like, oh, I know nothing about jujitsu. I was like, stop it, dude. You do too. Like, knock it off. Let this reveal where you weren't efficient at, and that's okay, because you'll get better once you reveal it. So that's really what I'm trying to live into is be more patient with myself, not be so upset all the time and like, dang it, way to go. You suck. You get frustrated, right? And I think you've been a big help with that. And I hope that us being here for each other and then sharing that on this podcast, we could somehow get that out to the people that are listening, and they would feel that coming from us towards them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that I mean, I think just us sharing openly our conversations about life and jujitsu, man, is is powerful for a lot of people, man. And
Yeah. And maybe it's,
I like what you said about revealing how jujitsu reveals you to yourself. And I
yeah,
think all those struggles do, like you're talking about how you struggle, I struggle. We all who doesn't struggle. Sometimes I think our time here on earth is just to fucking forge us through struggle. Because is there anybody who lives in this life who just doesn't struggle in one form or another? I don't think there is, But I
yeah,
think that we take our path, just like you're choosing to do sweeps. Sometimes we consciously or unconsciously choose situations in life that are also like those sweeps that we don't know how to do. They're fucking situations that are going to mold us into something better. And and I've, like I said, consciously we choose them, and unconsciously we also choose them. And then we look around and like, why the fuck did I choose this situation? Why did I choose this goddamn job? you know why did I choose this relationship? What the fuck was I thinking? What the fuck was I thinking when I chose this shit? And then you look back and you remind yourself, well, I've grown since then. So, but at the same time, those situations, man, the way the universe, I believe the way the universe works, the way God works, whatever you want to believe it is, the way this energy form is, it's always moving into the greater good. It's always evolving toward the better. It's always moving toward the good. So that whatever situation we're in, we're there for a reason, and we're there to learn something from it. And we just have to extract the gems that are around us at the time to become the person that we're meant to be in this lifetime.
yeah,
And the hard part behind that is a lot of people don't embrace the struggle that way. you
yeah.
know and so
Well, it's
um
like we could use jujitsu to say how broken and useless we are, right? And then we need to fix ourselves through learning jujitsu. Or we could say, oh, wait a minute, there's just so much potential inside me that I don't even know about. And so I'm going to step into this journey in this art in order to reveal my own potential and excellence inside me to myself. That's how the lens is very different, and it'll impact you very differently if you walk with certain lenses. One has a lot of self-judgment, self-doubt, self-deprecation, and suffering, right? And the
Yeah.
other one actually can open you up to, maybe there's just nothing wrong with you. Maybe you are whole. Maybe you are complete as you are. And maybe that's too deep of a concept or it's too dramatic. But to me, it's so important. Like, who would we be without all these like angry judgments of ourselves or thinking that we're broken and not enough, And
Yeah.
if we
Mixed
just
with
let that go
fear
and
and
realize, like, man, the reason I've enjoyed the struggles I went through with PTSD and stuff is because really it just revealed to me that I was always better than I thought I was. I was always stronger than I thought I was. I was always more capable and more loving and kind and generous and all these different things that I didn't really ever give myself credit for.
yeah,
And
it's,
how
you know,
true is
you
that
made
to
me
you?
think of something right now is what, and I was talking about extracting the gems from our struggles in life. And for me, man, what a gift that, PTSD has been, PTSD and the depression that came along with it, because I don't take any medications or anything like that. So for me, I've had to basically start from ground zero in my life and learn how to live a healthy life, take care of myself mentally, my mental health, very focused on, you know, keeping my mental health in a positive, high vibrating place all the time, keeping my body in a good, youthful place all the time, and that's how I've been able to, that's the gift that PTSD gave me, is I've changed who I was as a person to, elevate myself in all areas of my life so I wouldn't struggle with depression, so I won't struggle with anxiety,
Yeah.
and jujitsu
Well,
falls right into that,
or
because
even
that's
see it
been a
as a
big part of the
struggle.
process.
Yeah, or even see it as a struggle, right? Like change the name of the game, change the terms in which you play it. Like there's this really awesome coach that I've been chatting with lately, just an awesome guy. And he kind of challenged me on some of the things I was sharing. It's like, man, I want to work through this stuff once and for all and be done with it. It's like, well, with that statement, that once and for all, that means like, okay, once I get to this certain place in life or I figure this certain thing out, then I'll be done with the struggle, right? I'll be done with the journey or the challenges or the difficulty. And it's just like, what if it's just a lifetime of practice? Like, what if it's a lifetime journey instead of a once and for all kind of outcome that you're waiting to get to? It changes the way you look at life. It changes the way you act daily. Same thing with like, you know, how we define struggling with sweeps or how we define struggling with PTSD. If you look at it as a revelatory process, like a process where it's exposing you to your own greatness, your own excellence, instead of the definition and proof that I'm not capable or good enough in some way, what changes in your life? It's
Yeah.
huge, man.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that's what I learned from that tournament is like, holy crap, I doubted myself every second of that tournament and I had to battle my mind through every single second. Thank goodness those matches like were what they were and it worked out, but it just revealed to me how hard I am on myself all the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't give myself credit for the preparation that I did. My coach did, and he told me, hey, don't worry about the winning. Go out there and perform, because he knew the preparation I put in, because I showed up and he saw me there. And so I didn't give myself credit for that. Same thing with my wife. Like, hey, I just wish you would believe in yourself more. Take action. Go for it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. Oh, what if I didn't train enough? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And throughout the entire match, I'm like, oh, your legs are getting tired. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. Like, judge, judge, judge.
Hmm.
And it's just like, why that part? But and that's the process of revealing that aspect to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
There's power in that, man. It's exciting, and having someone like you in my corner while I go through that, right, teaches me how to be in my own corner. Hey
Yeah.
man, you got this, keep going, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Simple little reminders like that, and I have other people in my life that do that for me. It's like, dang, how valuable is that?
That's huge, man. There's a huge importance in that, and you hear that all the time, but you have to be surrounded by positive, encouraging people, man, because if you're not surrounded by positive, encouraging people, for one, it can become very lonely and difficult. And for two, if the opposite of that are negative, people who don't see the path that you're on or don't agree with your path or don't support your path, that makes it very difficult, you know. So anybody listening who has negative people around them, or someone who doesn't support your path, or someone who's not, you know, um, who doesn't encourage you regularly, man, you gotta either have a deep talk with them, or do everything you. For me, I if there's anybody negative who makes me feel less than what I am, you know, who's judgmental or talks shit, you know, often, I just have cut those people from my life, man. Like I've pretty much weeded them all out. The only people I talk to are people like William, you know, my training partners, the people who are constantly, my boy Stefan in Virginia, he's a personal trainer, and then some other close friends, but just a very tight circle of positive people who everyone knows we have big visions and we're walking toward them. And if one person falls down, the one who isn't falling right now grabs that person, and then the person who was holding him might fall, and he grabs him, and that's how we move up the mountain of life, man, with positive people who support each other. So, and again, back to jujitsu, that's who you're surrounded by in jujitsu, you know. So I fucking love it. So,
Yep.
um, anyhow, I think you have an appointment coming up, don't you? Or about getting close to that time?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, we will end this episode then, and we will do another one next week. You can follow me on Instagram at the Increase Life. You can follow William on Instagram at the Will Dennis. Make sure, if you want, you can check out my other podcast. It's more of an inspirational podcast. It's called The Increase Life, also on Spotify and iTunes. And make sure you rate, review, follow, subscribe this podcast, and let us know. Hit us up, please. Hit us up if there's anything that touches you, anything that you want us to talk about. You have any questions, whatever it is. You know, we're here to support, and that's why we're doing it. You know, to give something back to this community that we have become very passionate about. So,
Yeah, and we're working on that Instagram page for Soul Rollers. We're working on the logo. We're gonna do all that, get that upgraded. That's, you know, how we're improving our sweeps in that arena, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
And so it's in the process. The more, you guys share with us, the more encouraged we are to, like, see even more that we can improve and work on. So I'm excited, and
Yep.
it's a exciting journey. It's exciting to see, and just to have this ability to express ourselves and the passion we have for this, and that it's so warmly received. It means a lot. So super
Yeah.
grateful.
Super grateful. Thank you, everybody who was listening and everybody who shared. If you want to share an episode, something you like, an episode, whatever, make sure you share it and tag us. We appreciate it. We'll reshare it. And yeah, until next time, we'll talk again. William, I'll probably talk to you later, man.
Yep.
And yeah, have a good day. Have a good coaching session, and we'll talk soon, man. Love you, bro.
Awesome. Love you, man.
All right,
Have a
man.
good day.
Yep. Later.